What it do, y'all? Welcome to another week of Technical File. You know how we do. We ain't gonna hold y'all up too long. We're gonna hit that theme music and get right on into the show. Welcome to episode 371 of Technical File, the sports podcast you never knew you needed.
And it's your boy, Timkinz, the number 3, a.k.a. Ass Ketchum, a.k.a. Mr. Give It To Me. What up, though? We from the crib, you know what it is, you know what I'm saying?
I am the RJ.
Only known as
The RJ.
And I'm Camille, point guard of the crew, the real life Tifa Lockhart, the girl next door, holding it down for all the women who love sports. Not joining us this week is Kay Harris, the gentleman.
The
man's being a family man. He got Christmas programs and whatnot to attend. So we holding it down for him this week. I see Dwayne in the comments bright and early saying, what up, though? Early pre-Bucks pod. Yes, we are trying to get in and get out before this Bucks game starts. So, again, I'm not going to waste y'all time here. So we're going to get into the housekeeping. Make sure you are following us on our various social media platforms at Technical File, TECKNICAL, FOUL on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Technical File Podcast on Facebook and YouTube. And yes, Shaolin, we are working from home today because we got a game that we want to watch. NBA Cup championship game. Got to see it. So make sure you're following us on all of our different social medias. Always, as a reminder, it is helpful to us if you share the show. If you're in the YouTube stream, make sure you like up the video. All of those free ways help support the pod in a big way. So please do that if you get the chance. All right. No game that needs a name this week. We are going to be talking NFL, NBA, and some WWE before some quick hits, and then we will get up on out of here. So we're going to kick it off with NFL talk. Let's start with the fact that a former Packers player caused some headlines this past week. He refused to play for his teammates. Devondre Campbell, now of the 49ers, he refused to enter a game during Thursday Night Football when they were losing to the Rams, and now the Niners are suspending him for the rest of the season. I just wanted to bring this up because we've heard about certain people and players quitting on their team before, but one, do you think there's ever a reason to just refuse to do your job in that situation? And two, do you think that there's ever any coming back in a locker room from that?
I have an unpopular opinion on this.
Boy.
It's football. If you're not completely locked in, I don't think you should be out on the floor. On the field. So, no, I don't think there's any coming back from it. But I do think that if you going out there is going to get you hurt or get somebody else hurt, then you don't need to be on the field and you do need to be off the team. I also disagree that because it seemed like they were trying to punish him as opposed to if I don't show up for my job, they're going to fire me. So it's just fire him. But they didn't want him to get paid and they didn't want him to go to a different team. So this is the route that they chose. But yeah, I don't have a problem with it from the standpoint of if he don't want to be out there, he shouldn't have to. You can't force somebody to go do their job. But also, his teammates and his team has a right to feel a certain way about it.
Tim, how you feel about it? How would you feel if your teammate refused to check in and then walked out the game? Not like Vontae Davis did when he retired at halftime.
He retired, big.
He retired. He said, I don't want to do this at all anymore.
You ain't seeing me at practice. You ain't going to see me on the bus, my boy.
I'm done.
I've had different teammates do that before, when I was actually playing different sports where player refused to just come in or refuse to try to sub out, shit like that. Like, in the moment, it's kind of like, hey, yeah, we just trying to win this game. So what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, we leave all the theatrics to the side, but it's usually something that leads up to this. It's never like, I feel like it's never really at that point in that moment. So I'm sure for him, there was other things and factors leading up to the situation where he probably just like, you know what, fuck it, bro. Like, because even when he was here, like, it didn't seem like he was the type to do something like that. I don't know, like, not personally. I don't know him personally like that, but the type of player that he always gave a lot for when he was in Green Bay. So it seemed like the type of player that would be. He said what?
I said he was bitching a lot on his way out. So
yes,
I think
he was.
But he still played though. Outside of the injuries, like he actually was still on the field, like trying though. Like I didn't see him like give up on his way out. You know what I mean? Like where in San Francisco is like, now fuck this. Like I'm good. Like you like legitimately just gave up. You said what?
Because it sounds like he's upset about getting benched. So like if that didn't happen, that might be the catalyst where it's like, if y'all want to go with somebody else, go with somebody else. Like leave me out of it. Again, not justifying it, but it's like if you upset.
Right. And to answer your question as a teammate, it's more so like, damn dog, like handle this shit after the game. Like I get it, you want to make a point or a statement or whatever, but are we gonna try to win this game or not? Like that's how I always looked at him. Like I ain't come here to lose, and then now I got to deal with your shit too. You have to handle that later, bro.
And I think sports are always inherently different than going to an office job. Like everybody on the office, you hear about teamwork and it's a team and it's this and this and this and that. But like in sports, like it's a little bit different because it's legit a team. And
I gotta lean on you, bro. Like I literally have to depend on you
to help and do your part. But for Campbell too, it's like he signed with the Niners knowing what it was. Like Greenlaw was hurt to start the season, so he knew what it was going to be. And now he's in a situation where it was like Greenlaw came back, they're getting healthier, so your playing time is going to decrease. So to see Campbell just refuse to go into the game, it's like, nah. But I had a sweet little sense of like my little pettiness came out. I remembered all he was talking about when he went to the Niners. Like, I'm going to be so happy to go somewhere where I can play football. And my love for the game is coming back. And it's like, that love did not seem to last too long. I see we got a first time Tech File listener in the comments here.
Okay.
Shout out to okay. First time here because of Pack a Day podcast. Appreciate you rolling through for sure.
How you want us to pronounce your name? You want to okay? You want to okay? Okay. Like, let us know. We got you.
But I think from talking about a former Packer, it's a good time to talk about this current Packers team. So E, I'm gonna throw the ball into your court.
The Packers beat Seahawks 30-13 on Sunday Night Football. It was a pretty comprehensive victory, objectively speaking. Like they got out to a fast lead, held on to the lead throughout the game. I think it got as close as like 10 points maybe sometime in the second half. Then Romeo Doubs made a spectacular play in the fourth to kind of ice it. But they're a good football team. Like we've had our concerns over this year. Sorry, my son's trying to break in the room. We've had our concerns over we've had our concerns throughout the year about them being immature, about some of the some of the drops, some of the penalties, some of just the lack of preparation sometimes, some of the lack of not being ready to play from jump. But it seems like, especially since the bye week, like they've kind of rounded into form. Jordan Love has gotten a little bit healthier. The defense has gotten more consistent. Like I think one good sign about a first year defensive coordinator, defensive scheme change is that you look better later in the season than you did earlier because people are starting to understand where they're supposed to be. Like there's a little bit more familiarity with the system, which is like what we've seen so far throughout the season, like even dealing with the injuries that they have. So like there's been growth from week 1 to week 14, 15, whatever we're in right now. But I feel like there's a kind of a lack of perspective sometimes from the fan base where they only see the warts. They only see, LaFleur is playing not to lose instead of playing to win. And he takes his foot off the gas and this, and then I look at like national or fans of other teams and they're like, oh crap, I'm scared of the Packers. They're doing it again. Like they're just like, you only see the worst of your team, whereas like everybody else is like, this is like the last team that I want to see heading into the playoffs and in the postseason. So it's just like, not to quote former 12, now 8, relax. Like it's okay. Like you have a good football team with a great young quarterback, outstanding offense, a defense that's getting better every week. And the kicking game has been solidified. Like before, that was the Achilles heel last year. Like now, I have no worries. Like when McManus comes in, so just relax, enjoy it. Now, if they give you reason to actually freak out. But for now, like take a step back, relax, chill, please.
No, I feel you.
You know, I look at this team as, or I compare them to like an old 80s, 90s slasher murderer, like, you know, the killer in the movies, because what they do, they just kind of keep creeping at you. They just kind of keep walking no matter what you do. They done took a blow or two, but in the background, in the back of your mind, you're like, that motherfucker back there somewhere. And I feel like that's what this young Packer team is to a lot of teams. Like, hey, yeah, you know, you talking about the Phillies, you talk about the Buffaloes, you talk about the Kansas Cities or the Baltimores, but that damn Packer team, they creeping back there, bro. They done caught a couple bodies. They get a little louder, bro, and nobody want to see them. And I like that for this squad. I like it.
I think a lot of times people want perfection from their sports teams, right? And the reality of it is a lot of times you're not going to get perfection from a sports team unless you are some crazy dominant force and you rolling through the entire league. And even if you do that, that does not guarantee that you're going to get to that championship success. We've seen it quite a few times when there are teams that are I mean, because the Eagles last year, where it's like you rolling and then suddenly you're not.
I was gonna say the 2011 Packers are the perfect example of that.
15-1, yeah, like it happens. It happens, and I think what's important is just, can you win in multiple different ways? Like this is a Packers team that I think the most complete game we've seen from the Packers was probably against the Tennessee Titans when they had Malik Willis at quarterback. Just
7 sacks.
Yeah, like they had 8 sacks. Like they did everything they wanted to. They dictated the flow of that game. But you haven't seen a full, 48 or no, not 48, I'm thinking of basketball, a full 60 minutes of football from the Green Bay Packers. But again, it's always better to try to find the things you need to improve on after a win rather than after a loss. They 10-4. They are 10-4, which is only good for third in their division because of how crazy the NFC North is right now. But if they win against the Saints on Monday Night Football, they have clinched their playoff spot. So like they are in a good position. Is there room to improve? Yep. Are there areas of concern that I have about this team or some position groups? Yep, sure are. But even with those concerns, I think they still have enough talent to make a lot of noise come the postseason and that they could even make it to the playoffs. So it's one of those things where it's like you got to take the good with what it comes and then understand like there's room for growth, but that doesn't mean they trash. I see a comment came in. Yeah, correct that, Dwayne. 10-4. That's right. He also added that it's crazy how worried some of y'all fans are. And then added in way too early prediction. Who do you think will be the pillars of our defense offense in the coming years? J Love excluded. Edgerrin Cooper looking real good. Coop looking like one of them ones on defense.
Yeah, and I'll say Kraft on offense.
Ooh, yes.
And Jordan Love, like Kraft is like I think the spirit of that question is like, are there game breakers? Are there all pros on either side of the ball? I think Cooper and Kraft are the most likely to be all pros from those units.
I'll throw Reed in there too.
Even with all the drops, that does not, now talking about concerns, does that concern you?
No, because it's year number 2. You know how I go in Green Bay. Like year number 1, you be like, oh, there's something there, but hold the ball. Year number 2, be like, oh yeah, the kid is nice. Hold the fucking ball. By year number 3, you be like, okay, well, we got something. We out here.
And if they don't in year 3, then they become MVS, and you be like, get them out of here.
Yeah,
pretty much.
You gonna hold the ball or you ain't.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jordy and Devontae had issues with drops early in their careers, and we see how that turned out. So
yeah, and I mean, I don't know if it's a cheat answer, but Josh Jacobs, like he's still relatively young.
So is McKinney.
Although he's the oldest player on the offense, ain't
he? Right, which is crazy to think about. And we know the lifespan of a running back tends to be a little bit shorter, but man, the way that he's been playing, he is something special.
If Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley didn't exist, he'd be all pro this year.
Right. Tim, I know you wanted to talk a little bit more about just those top teams in the NFC. Like I mentioned, the NFC North in itself, 3 teams with at least 10 wins. Like there are a handful of teams at the top of the NFC that are making some noise here.
Yeah. So my question is, it's tight. It's a tight race in the NFC North for the number 1 seed, especially with the Lions just taking this recent L. Now, I had seen something recently where it was like, even if they lost out, they could still get the number 1 seed, but it takes some other magic happening because everybody's so close. But with that being the question, who do you see? We're about 2 weeks away now because week 15 coming up. So we got 15, 16, 17. There's about 3 games left.
18.
So we're
they buy or not, like, but roughly about 3 for the rest of the league. So
it's 18 weeks now, bro.
Yeah. So we got week 16, week 17, week 18, the last 3 games.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Like the league, roughly, like they all have about 3 games left.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we go from here? Who are we looking at? Because we see Detroit is getting decimated. Sadly, like they losing bodies left and right. It's crazy.
Lost McNeil, lost the other cornerback, lost Montgomery, like
Carlton Davis.
That's the cornerback who broke his jaw.
Like it's nuts. Even with Goff putting up 500 yards in an L, 500 yards and 5 touchdowns in an L is crazy.
It's only justified because he threw 5 interceptions in a win. So like, even it out, please, football gods.
And then you have Minnesota. Well, you have Philly. Let me not get up there. We got Philly.
Mm-hmm.
Philly is, for what it's worth, on par with Detroit. Maybe a little bit of step above. For some because of their defense and they're a little healthier.
They're 12-2, like Detroit and like Minnesota. Like those are your 3 teams, all tied right now in the standings. 12-2, 12-2, 12-2. Detroit, Philly, Minnesota. Then you got Green Bay at 10-4.
Ooh. Which, like Dwayne said, like all 4 of their losses are to 12-2 teams. So
yeah, it's just those are all the Packers losses right there: Minnesota, Detroit, and Philly.
Yeah, and none of them were blowouts. So it's like they were neck and neck with them right there. So that's the tier. That's the tier. If you want to bump the Packers down a little bit because they actually lost to those teams, I wouldn't begrudge you. But like that's the tier in the NFC at this point. Like that's what everybody else is kind of chasing. Although, like the NFC is to the NFL what the Western Conference is to the NBA, where it's so much better than the other conferences. Like you look at the teams that might make the playoffs in the AFC, it's like, ugh. But like there are some teams that are not going to make the NFC playoffs that are really good.
That's fair.
Lead them Cowboys where they at though.
I mean, they
got 6 wins. Dallas got 6.
Yeah.
6.
They got to win out.
Lead them Cowboys where they at.
I'm just saying, they're not mathematically eliminated yet, like the Bears.
Not the lean in.
To make sure they heard me.
But so Tim, you were asking us like which team do we think is going to actually win the conference, or just have the best record at the end of the season?
Who do you have the most faith in securing the number 1 seed of those 3? Because we all know they all 3 have different things. I don't know if you faith in Minnesota because I don't know if you really trust them. Detroit's the injury history, and Philly, I guess they rolling, but it's like the turmoil with them and Jalen Hurts and the coach and passing.
They said it's nothing, Tim.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's nothing.
I mean, here's the thing though. Week 18, I believe it's Minnesota, Detroit. Week 18. So like they're going to have a very important game to end the season. I'm pulling up the Vikings' last 3 games are at Seahawks versus the Packers at home and then at Detroit. On the Detroit side of things, their last 3 games are against the Bears in Chicago, against the Niners in San Francisco, and then against the Vikings at home. So, and then Philly, their last 3 games are Commanders, Eagles, Cowboys. Yeah. Sorry, Commanders, Cowboys, Giants.
I do like that they backload the schedules with division games because it keeps things interesting longer. because we're probably going to go into week 18 with the division not at all settled, and like the Packers, depending on what they do, have an outside chance of still
jumping in there.
The mix.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hey, we have a comment from Brandon. Brandon, who do you think has the easiest schedule?
He said whoever has the easiest schedule he thinks will win, and based on the slate of games, he'd have to go with Philly, and I would agree with that. Okay. Having the Cowboys and the Giants in your last 2 or 3 games, like Commanders is going to be tough.
Cowboys rolling.
And let me say this too, because when it comes to divisional games, records don't matter. Like it's going to be a tough game for you when it's a divisional game. That's why, like, I've seen Bears fans already saying, like, we don't care what happens no more. Just win the last week against the Packers, and we are cool.
That ain't happening.
Probably not. But listen, but I get the energy. I get the energy.
I mean, yeah, Phillies is like you said, like they have the Giants, which is like that they don't even have to show up for that one. And they probably won't, honestly. And like the Giants are playing for the top pick, so like they're both teams are motivated for a Philly win. But I mean, the Lions have the Bears, who are the Bears, and then 49ers, who are just as injured as they are, if not more so. So, like, it's really, I don't know. I feel like the Lions have a clear path. They just have to show up for the Vikings game.
That's fair. Tim, who you going with?
I'll say Philly, but I'm not going to look at Dallas as a cakewalk win for Philly, only because how you said what?
So that's a first for you.
Well, they suck, but they're playing better recently. You know how they go on runs with Cooper Rush and shit. Like it's weird. Like once dude get in the game, they start trying to get like a little. Yeah, but they try to get a little Cinderella magic. Their defense has been playing better the last couple of weeks, so I wouldn't say it's a cakewalk. I'm not saying that they're gonna win. I'm just saying it'll be a fight, and I don't know. Maybe they might not leave unscathed. Dallas would be. That's the question that Dallas should be answering. What the hell are y'all playing for? Why y'all still playing this damn hard? That is a good question.
Brandon asked that in the comments. Dallas should be packing it in. What are they playing for? My uncle Michael was a Cowboys fan. When they had a recent win, he's like, I didn't ask for this now. Like, y'all could have won weeks ago.
It's like, now they cooking.
Like, we don't need this no more.
They're playing for Mike's job.
No.
They be in Dallas, and I appreciate them for doing what they do and being who they are. It's weird and fucked up. Like, y'all should be in the top 5, and y'all out here winning. Okay.
Hey, the player's always going to try. It's up to the front office to decimate it if they don't want it to happen, like what we saw on the NBA side of things with the Nets trading Dennis Schroeder to the Warriors. I highly doubt any of y'all watched the Nets Cavaliers game last night.
I saw the score like halfway through the second quarter.
I watched that game, and man, that Nets team looked lost, which you should expect. You should expect that. But anywho, let's actually keep talking about some NBA. Let's talk about some basketball. All-Star voting begins on Thursday. We are here. It is that time. All-Star game, All-Star voting. And the NBA officially announced that they are making some rule changes. They are going to the format that we discussed prior about having 3 different All-Star teams made of 8 players apiece. And then the Rising Stars game winner gets into that, and it's like a tournament situation here. So each game is played to a final target score of 40 points. But the new information that we heard about was that the 3 teams of All-Stars are going to be led by Kenny, Shaq, and Chuck of Inside the NBA. And then the Rising Stars champion will be led by Candace Parker. And the Inside the NBA guys are going to be picking their teams during the All-Star draft ahead of the game. So, Eric's face. First, I see Charlene in the comments asking, 1, how do you feel about the format? Which I think is a great place to start. I know we tossed it out when it was being thrown out as an idea, but now that it's actually going to come to fruition in February of this year, how do y'all feel about the All-Star game format changing?
Like every format change, I gotta see it in practice, but I'm open because clearly whatever they've been doing hasn't been working. I do think that I hope that the competition part of it will. I hope that the form of the format leads to more competition because it's now a tournament and it's not just we're trying to run the clock out. It's like we got to score up to 40. I don't want to get knocked off the court. Like it's like if you run a pickup, like you want to keep on the court. So essentially, like you're gonna play a little bit harder because you don't want to get embarrassed. Essentially, which is unfortunately like the number one motivator it seems like for NBA players, which is why we'll never get that one-on-one tournament because nobody wants to put themselves out there like that. But I have hope for it. I mean, you can't make people care about a thing, so.
Yeah. Tim, how you feel about it?
But like what they've been doing hasn't been working, so switch it up.
Mm-hmm.
With that last statement, what you've been doing hasn't really been working, but I've been seeing the tweaks to try to make it work. So I feel like this is just along the lines of tweaking it still a little bit more to try to, one, boost up the competition, two, get players a little bit more involved, three, give the fans a couple more games to see some players, because even during an All-Star game, not everybody play that long anyways. Some players may only play like 2-3 minutes. Some players only make like 2-3 shots and sit down and shit. So with this format, it allows you to see the All-Stars that's on the teams to actually be able to play too. And who knows, some of them be wanting to play for real, and they'll ramp up the competition a little bit, and others they may want to mail it in. Like, all right, bro, y'all got it. But I think that it'll be a little bit more competition, a little bit more fun, and be in a fresh, different format. People used to be opposed and hate new sometimes, but now like fresh and original ain't that new no more. Like it's not a thing like that no more. Creativity is kind of so seeing something fresh and original kind of like this would be a lot of people I feel like will like it don't sound like I want to fuck with it, but I'll give it a shot. The in-season tournament, I don't sound like I want to fuck with it. Hey, my team here, let's go. Like, you give it a shot, bro, and it's the NBA trying to give fans a little bit more reason to enjoy the product. So I'm with it.
Yeah, it all comes down to if the players want to play. Like all the changes that they're making is trying to spur them to want to play harder, give them something else to do. But it's like if they collectively have decided All-Star game is something that we just gonna, jog through, then it's gonna be something they jog through regardless of what the format is for the game. What does give me hope about this new format is the inclusion of whatever team wins the Rising Stars game, because they moved to this format of the multiple teams a few years ago. And I have found the Rising Stars game far more interesting this way with kind of like the tournament, quote unquote, setup. So I think that my hope is contingent on All-Stars having that chip on their shoulder of like, I'm not about to let these young bucks come in here and run us out the gym. Like that's my only piece of it where I'm like, this could help. But to Eric's point of like, I'm cool with them trying anything just to see if it works. Like I'm not going to begrudge it until I see it in practice, but it's on the players. They got to want to play hard. They got to want to play hard and make it interesting. And we're not even asking for them to give, NBA finals effort, but just like some effort, some pickup effort, please.
Just try hard.
Yeah,
like you've seen that meme where it's like a security guard and he's like patting people down, but he's just kind of like waving his arms like over the like that's how defense is in the All-Star game. It's like it's okay, y'all can touch each other, like don't try to hurt each other, but a little physicality never hurt anybody.
Right, just a little bit. Like y'all play pickup in the summer. Y'all know how to play at a good pace without going too hard. Like pick it up just a little bit. And then one last question for y'all with All-Star voting opening up. If you could cast your votes, you're going to cast your votes, whatever the case. Who is a player or a couple of players who you were like, they have to be an All-Star starter this year? Giannis without saying. Like, we don't know Giannis. It's with a bullet.
I haven't gamed out my starters yet.
That's why I said just give me one or two.
I'll give you one that's not necessarily a starter, but deserves to be an all-star. And I can't believe I'm about to say this, but James Harden.
Ooh.
James Harden has been carrying the Clippers. Like, I think once Kawhi went out and obviously PG left, like people just kind of left the Clippers for dead. But like they're above 500. I think Harden had 40 plus last night. He's back in his mode. You know what I mean? Like where he's he has his hand in everything. He has the ball every possession. He either gets to shoot or he gets to set somebody else up for. Like he's back to Houston Harden essentially. and it's been effective for the Clippers. Like, we know how this story ends, but it's been nice to see a resurgence for him. And I feel like, you know, especially after Philly, but a little bit after Brooklyn, like there was even more smut on his name than I used to give it. With good reason, but like he's back in a familiar role and he's producing. So shout out to him.
That's fair. Tim, who is a player or two that you were like, man, they got to be an all-star this year?
I mean, that's what I was sitting here trying to figure out. I'm like,
why you trying to figure it out? Shaolin said Jalen Johnson.
Jalen was one of them.
Yeah, Shaolin added that for sure. Jalen, he said he's a stretch to start, but Shaolin would love to see him make it.
See, I don't fuck with Franz. I mean Mo, but Franz was hooping before he got hurt. And he would have been a really good pick too, because once Paolo went down, he really started like carrying the Magic. Plus, they played really great as a team, but he really he kicked it another notch. Trey for sure. For Brandon.
Brandon said Trae Young as someone for him. Thinking about the guards in the East, I'm not sure if he'd make it as a starter.
Oh, he definitely ain't making a start.
But I've been back and forth on Trae Young's play this year, because I feel at times that he is too hesitant to shoot and he's looking to pass too much. But I do love how he has been setting up his teammates. I just feel like there's a better balance for him to strike, where he should be a little bit more aggressive still. But hey, listen, he got Jalen Johnson on the squad. He is perfectly content with Jalen cooking, and I like that about Trae Young. No ego in that sense.
12 assists a game is wild.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
You got Camille.
Gotta be an all-star. The front court's always interesting, right? Because it's, two guys, well, three technically, but Karl-Anthony Towns, starter in the East. The way that man, he has been hooping. Now, the defense, it is what it is, but he is setting some career marks offensively for himself. So, I've been enjoying watching Cat take on New York, because he doesn't even seem to play like he did when he was in Minnesota. He seems a lot less, how do I say this? Whiny. He seems he seems more locked in, I will say. More locked in. He's taking on the personality, it feels like, of the city a bit more.
That's what I was gonna say, taking on New York.
Yeah, I kind of like it though. I kind of like it. I like it. I like the energy.
Walking around talking about his facts, son. You better get it straight. Word to mother.
Son. Yeah, all that New York stuff. I feel.
Yeah, we need Ken here for his New York accent. Bodega.
Right. All right, Eric. What's your NBA thing this week?
What? All the Bucks an apology. I don't know if I ever said it on here, because I usually try to project optimism, but I was definitely in our group chat talking about these guys. Dang. Very early in the season, but they, after starting 2-8, they have righted the ship. And surprisingly, it's been on the back. I guess unsurprisingly, it's been on the backs of Giannis and Dame, but surprisingly, it's been on the backs of their defense. Their defense has really turned it around and stabilized. And also, they've had some outliers 3-point shooting over the last month, namely AJ Green and Taurean Prince, shooting over 50% or damn near. But they seem like the same point I made kind of about Halfley's defense with the Packers. You kind of have to give it time as they're implementing something new. And it does seem like they're starting to pick up Greg Buckner's defensive scheme. And it's kind of, like I said, it's carrying them at the moment. Also, Giannis going back to trying very hard on defense makes a big difference. You can tell he kind of had it in second gear a lot defensively last year, especially. But just looking at what he did in that Atlanta game on Saturday, he was all over the place, just flying around, picking up Trae Young, guarding Jalen Johnson, protecting the rim, rotate. He was doing everything on defense, and I feel like that energy kind of infects his teammates and kind of gets everybody else going. And when that's the case, good luck. So I wanted to get that in before the NBA Cup game, because I don't know what's about to happen, but I do want to give them their flowers, while things are going well. So I also had like a very mini blow the whistle.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. One last point before the blow the whistle. Heading into this cup final, they're 12-3 in their last 15 games.
After starting 2-8.
Yeah. So shouts to them. My blow the whistle is on @Bucks Film Room on Twitter.
Not Bucks Film Room.
Oh. Yeah. It's been like Friday. They tweeted out it'll be interesting to see what the Bucks do if they make the NBA Cup championship. They have an old injury-prone team, and that's an extra meaningless game. They could A, sit their guys and give them 6 days off, or B, play them and have them start a 6-game and 12-day stretch. If you like one, that just like spits in the face of everything the NBA is trying to do with this NBA Cup. Like it's a marquee game. It's extra money for the players. Like they're trying to make it a big deal. So like if you're saying, well, it doesn't count towards the seeding, which means it doesn't count towards playoff, which means it doesn't count towards the actual championship, then it doesn't fucking matter. It's like it's a title. Like it's a championship. It's a thing to win. So therefore, you should probably try to win it. Like the analogy I made was, it's not the world title, but it's the Intercontinental. Like if you're watching wrestling, you're not gonna be mad because your favorite wrestler won the IC title. You're like, oh, that's cool. He won the title. Mm-hmm. Same thing. Like it ain't the ultimate prize, but it's nice to have. And like when you have an opportunity to, like, why not go for it? Mm-hmm. Also, 6 games in 12 days. Like it's easy for me to say because I don't have to do it. But 6 games in 12 days isn't like some, oh my God, they're running them into the ground. And also, if you want to rest, like they play the Wizards on Saturday, like on the second half of back-to-back. Like that's a premium rest.
Now,
game.
hold on a second there, Eric. I'm going to that game. So like, no, I'm playing.
Let's see everybody. Nah, put everybody in, coach.
I don't honestly, to your point, like if they did choose to, I don't care. Like I'm going to see the Bucks. Like it's going to be fun regardless. But
the Bucks G League team could probably beat the Wizards at this point. So
you don't want to be that team that does lose to them though. But
like the Nuggets. Yeah, but like essentially, it's like the NBA has kind of created, and like that's kind of why I made that face when they said like Chuck and Shaq and Kenny are involved in things, because I feel like NBA media with them at the forefront have kind of like pushed this thing where the only thing that matters is the championship, and like all these players suck and they breasted and blah, like all these things that people, I hate the NBA ratings conversation, but it's just like there are a number of things that have contributed to why people aren't watching NBA games on TV. And also clearly it's not that big of a deal because they just got another record TV deal, like record amount of money from their TV deal. So clearly the networks are fine with it. So like, why do you have a problem with it? But that's beside the point. Like if everybody's trying to pinpoint like why NBA ratings are going down, it's because like we devalue individual NBA games to a point where people think that they're meaningless. And that if they don't serve to be a championship, 7 months from now, then none of this fucking matters. And it's like things are meaningful because you assign meaning to them. So like they're not just meaningful in a vacuum.
No.
But anyway, like that's my little soapbox.
To your blow the whistle, and then your ultimate point about the Bucks. I think what this tournament does that's really interesting for the league and for the Bucks in particular is when you look at who the Bucks have played over the last 15 games, a lot of the critique is like, well, y'all ain't play nobody. Like y'all have been beaten up on bad teams. The first thing I say to that was like, well, they did lose to the Bulls and the Nets to open the season. And we saw them lose to bad teams last year when they shouldn't have. So one step right there, some progress to see them taking care of business as they need to. But with that said, having this cup in there has inserted some really good competition into this month of games for the Bucks that they would not have otherwise gotten. And to see them tonight getting ready to go against the Thunder, the best team in the West, top defense, like going to be a battle type of game. It's a really good measuring stick. Plus, it don't count for the standing. So like whether they win or they lose, it's going to be a great experience to feel like that playoff light atmosphere, playoff light. Make clear, people misunderstand what I'm saying. Not playoff like, playoff light. the junior version. Like it's going to give you some of what you get from the playoffs. I think that's good for this team as they're continuing to learn how to play with one another, continuing to learn the new defensive schemes, and they're going to be tested against some really good comp with a very small, frisky Thunders team. Tim, I saw you said something you wanted to say as well.
Shit. Y'all took care of that portion of it. The teamwork and team building aspect, I think I'll touch on there. This tournament also instills the ability for teams to kind of work through playoff atmosphere, rotations, and adjustments, and looking at who I can play in certain situations. For teams like the Bucks, for example, who were struggling early on and starting to slowly build their chemistry, games like these help towards that as well. Because now if we get right today, we'll be better later. Look at the Pacers squad from last year. Yeah. Granted, the Lakers ran out of gas, but that's just because they was old. But
we old.
We are too, true. So I'm hoping that's not the same case, but we are interjecting a lot more youth into our lineups than I feel like the Lakers was at that time. And I feel like what they're doing now is also allowing our young guys and the new guys that we brought over to really get used to what we have going on here. So the team chemistry and team building for the in-season tournament, I feel like is very special for teams because it allows them to work out kinks. Last year when we lost, even though everybody didn't care, when we lost, it was, hey, what the fuck going on with the Bucks? I don't know. Hey, we ain't got it. Pacers. Like, it still mattered, even though it did matter. So if it don't matter to you, look at it as a full dress rehearsal or a full-blown scrimmage with the best team in the league. Like, I mean, from that's what you guys can do.
From a fan perspective, like, why are you upset that you get an extra game to watch your team? Like that.
Yeah.
And if they win, you definitely gonna be talking like shit. We won incident. It don't matter what nobody say. Hey, we won though. It's still a missing. It don't matter. We won though. Did you win it? No, you didn't. We won though. Like, it don't matter, bro. Like, but enjoy the ride. It's more NBA. It's more fans will wonder why no more eyes are on it. This is another reason why eyes can be on it. Enjoy it. Watch it.
Tim, I think that's a great place to wrap. Enjoy the ride. Like, if you are a fan of the sport, a fan of your team, like, enjoy the season. Because once the season is over, Then you got to wait the whole off season and all the other stuff that goes into it. Like, maybe my perspective is different. We mentioned it before, but being a young, like a Bucks fan for a while, going through watching them win 15 games in the season and not missing a game during that year, like going to the Bradley Center, spending $30 to sit dang near courtside, like those days of watching bad basketball a lot of the times, but being in love with the team and then seeing them figure it out, seeing them draft Giannis, seeing the growth of Giannis, seeing Chris come on, seeing all these different things that work together to finally get to that title in 21 made that moment even more special because you went through all of the ups and the downs with your squad all those other years. Want to get back there for sure, but like the ride is part of the fun of it. And if we start losing like sight of that part of it and it's only championship culture, like we missing out on a lot of good months of sports. Like, just like enjoy the ride. To Tim's point, I like that. Enjoy the ride. All right. Oh, I see this. We have a nice comment. We're going to highlight this comment from Brandon. He said, all of you have great insight.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank
you. Thank you. And Shaolin asks, last basketball thing here. Realistically, who would you like to see them trade for? And who are you willing to give up after this turnaround in regards to the Bucks? And part of the struggle with that is that the Bucks are a second apron team, which handicaps them a lot from making moves. Oh, Ken here. What up, gang? What's up, sir?
Hi, yo. What up, though?
It's the first time he's ever watched the show when he's not on it.
Right. First time. But
history made today, ladies and gentlemen. History made today.
I think the trade chips that they can really realistically dangle out there are Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton, and Marjon Beauchamp. Those are like the big ones. And I think I was just telling Tim this yesterday. Like maybe not. I was on some 2K with somebody. Ideally, what I would love for the Bucks be able to do is turn that Pat Connaughton contract into a backup big. And some of the bigs that work with his current salary, like my favorite on this list, is Jalen Smith in Chicago. I would love for the Bucks to be able to trade Pat Connaughton for Jalen Smith. Don't see it. I don't know why Chicago would do that. But like that's the type of names, like a Jalen Smith, if the Thunder were looking to give up Kendrick Williams, some guys like that. Like I just think the Bucks need another big that can give you a little bit more defensive versatility.
Can't say definitely the first, but don't do me like that.
Any other thoughts on Bucks trade targets, or do y'all want to?
He's been playing well, but like my stock answer is always Bobby. I just feel like you can get the most for him, and his defense has always been kind of like,
he's been pivotal to our turnaround though too.
That's what I was saying. Like he's been playing well, so if this is the Bobby that we get from here on out, like I'm fine with that. But the Bobby we had earlier in the season, like even if the threes aren't falling, like I'm glad that he's taking them again, because I feel like he was just like not taking threes, like he would purposely like pump fake and step in or just like wouldn't be out there to begin with. So like he has to be able to stretch the floor all the way out to the 3-point line to be as effective as possible. So
okay. Tim, anything to add on to that, or you want to wait till we get a little bit closer to the deadline?
I'm there with the Pat Connaughton contract, but other than that, like I'm really kind of good with where we at.
That's fair too. That's
like
fair.
If we clicking like this now, and we have the ability to get better, and Dame continue to get better too. Like, and Chris stays a little healthier. Everybody would continue to kind of click, because like Brooke plays better with Chris on the floor too. Like it's like everything seems to just finish connecting once he's there. It's just like he's the final piece to that puzzle, and it's a beautiful symphony when he's out there and shit like that. So if we can maintain our health, that's my biggest wish. Maintain our health through the playoffs. I don't feel like we really need to make a change. I feel like we have the pieces in place that we need for this squad to be successful.
I'm not mad at that. Jay-Z added that whoever they would think about trading, they would definitely have to be beneficial and not just some big unnecessary name. Agree wholeheartedly.
I'm gonna say so. No Serge Ibaka, no Jay Crowder.
No, we done. Those years is gone, bro. We done with those.
No trading 5 second-round picks for Jay. No.
Nikola Mirotic randomly and shit. We good on the face.
Yeah, that one just didn't work out. But the other two were kind of like
all randomly.
I will still say I understand the thought process behind the Jay Crowder trade. It just did not. He wasn't who they thought that he was going to be anymore.
But even if he was who they thought, like I think 5 second rounders for Jay Crowder, like
that was second rounders, Eric. Right, championships. If he could have did it, if he could have been the PJ that year to get him to the shit.
I don't care about the actual players that get picked at the second round. It's just like now they don't have second rounders to trade for other players. Like you can't just spend up all your money.
Name of the game, baby. You gotta use what you got.
You gotta do a better job of identifying a player that's worth that value.
Talking about 5 Bronny Jameses and move around.
Yeah, I don't care about the Bronny Jameses. I care about the fact that other teams gonna value the Bronny Jameses, and then we trade that for somebody that's gonna help us win a championship now.
Okay, I have one more question. How many years does the current Bucks roster have for a ring before our catches up to Dame and Chris injuries? If I'm reading that correctly, I came into this year saying this is a really big year for the Milwaukee Bucks. If things don't work out, we could see some changes, I think.
I got this year and next year. As far as the window goes, because I think everybody's contract is up next year anyways, ain't it? For the most part.
Well, you got Dame and Giannis locked.
Right, but everybody else is pretty much up.
But they got player options coming up and pull it up. I think Chris is on a player option next.
Chris has a player option this offseason, I think.
That's what I thought too.
No. Yeah, it was a 2+3. I mean 2+1. So yeah, he has a player option after this season. I'm assuming he's gonna pick that up because can't imagine. Brooke expires after this season. Bobby, I think, has a player option this season. Pat has a player option after next season.
And Pat has a player option
after next year. He's still on the contract next season.
So Brooke is playing on an expiring contract. We only had Taurean Prince, Gary Trent, DeLon Wright for the 1 year. Everyone else is around unless they get moved. And we mentioned who has player options on their contract. So it'll be it's a big year in Milwaukee.
It's kind of scary.
That window closing is right there.
To be fair though, I think honestly, as long as you have Giannis in your team, your window is going to be wedged open a certain amount because off the strength of just how dominant and how good that man is. But alas, we got to get on the good foot, continue the show on as we get ready for this NBA Cup game to kick off in about 20 minutes or so. So some wrestling news before we hit our quick hits and get out of here.
We can save mine for next week because it'll still be relevant.
Okay, cool. So my question was just, what did y'all think of Saturday night main event? It was this past weekend, Saturday night on Tim's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a nice little wrestling show on Peacock on NBC. What did y'all think of it?
I think it was cool. It was the build up to it was better than the show. But they did give us some entertaining matches. I would not say that the show was trash because it wasn't. It was a quick hit. It was supposed to be like a amplified, a glorified regular show. But I mean,
it's much more wrestling than a regular show. Like
it was like I said, they put on some decent matches. It's just I looked at it as like, okay, like I get the build up and I get the why. Like you want to keep bringing the eyes. I get it. But it felt like Sunday Night Heat or some shit like that. Just a little ample, and that's kind of what Saturday Night main event was, and kind of like that anyway. So they did a good job of bringing that feel back. I don't think there was any title changes.
There weren't.
There was a new champion crowned and Chelsea Green.
Green, my girl, she got it.
But yeah, it was cool. It was cool. It was a nice aside on Saturday night.
I'm kind of annoyed that the most impactful thing happened after the show went off the air.
I like how they use social media with WWE now, so I'm not mad at it. I thought it was like y'all said, it felt like Raw or SmackDown with less promos and more wrestling, which was cool. Like it was cool. Okay, added that they thought that it was comparable to a good Raw or SmackDown, but nothing like a PLE status, unfortunately. And I think to Tim's point about the buildup being better than the show, I think with the buildup, I expected more of like a PLE level event. And then when I was watching, I'm like, oh, this just feels like, wrestling on broadcast TV, like normal. So it was fine. But, I would say it was fine.
Well, like the interesting thing is like people had a similar reaction to Survivor Series, where it's like it kind of felt underwhelming, especially the ending where just like, oh, it's just a victory lap for the OG bloodline. Yeah. But if you look at it, like the WWE has a bunch of like super shows like right in a row. So you have Summer Survivor Series, you have Saturday Night's Main Event, you have the Raw debut on Netflix, and then you have Royal Rumble. So they have to build to 4 things kind of simultaneously.
Good point.
Which is why like Cody KO happened on Saturday Night's Main Event as opposed to happening during Survivor Series, which was another thing that people were kind of complaining about. Like, how you not gonna have the world title on like one of your big 4 pay-per-views? But it's like they have to kind of spread things out. And it does feel like they're not necessarily treading water, but they're getting their ducks in a row for the kickoff to WrestleMania season, which usually starts with the Royal Rumble, but I have a sneaky suspicion that is actually going to be that first Raw on Netflix, given what they're building currently.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Tim, what was your wrestling thing this week?
Mine will be real quick because I'm there's one more week I want to sit with this, but I'm gonna throw it out there this week just to kind of get your takes on it. The Miz and the Final Testament. So I picked in on Raw yesterday, and when I turned it on, it was actually when the Miz was trying to leave the Final Testament. So a storyline that's not really been talked about like that. I haven't really seen too much talked about, but has been kind of cooking is the Miz and the Final Testament with the Wyatt Six. Now they being the Final Testament are starting to flourish a little bit with the Miz. Like they're starting to be relevant because this shtick was dead in the water, boy. I swear to goodness, this shit was dead. It was done, bro. I ain't
didn't even care.
Did not care at all. No matter how many wins, how much hair he grew out, did not care. But the Miz coming in, helping revive their relevance, so to speak. And then, but to me, I feel like it's at a detriment to the Wyatt Six. Because they keep taking L's. God dang, boy, they keep taking L's. And now next week, Miz is going against Dexter Lumis to kind of get him back for kidnapping him that one time.
Yeah.
And that's only because Karrion Kross was like, no, you going in there, you going to fight him. No. You want to. He was putting his hands around his face and shit. You gonna go in there and ask for that match? No, I ain't. But hey, I thought it was kind of interesting. But like, I want to wait and I want to dive into it a little bit more next week. It was just something I ran across yesterday, and I was like, I wonder what their takes is on it a little bit. Kind of like, one, the Wyatts are losing, and two, how you feel about the Final Testament now that the Miz has kind of helped them out a little bit.
No, I think it's good to highlight some of those other not major storylines, but the little ones that are keeping you interested along the way, because the mid card and all the other storylines, if you don't have good mid card storylines, then like the product itself is going to suffer. So I think it is important to call out what they have been doing, because my interest has peaked a little bit more than it was before. A little bit.
I think that it just highlights how good the Miz is at his job.
I do too. I think he's a little low-key underrated at how good he is at his job. Okay, Axe, how are you guys liking the direction title run of Gunta?
I think I mentioned this previously, but I like injecting a little bit of vulnerability into him. Like, he felt inevitable for so long. So like, now that he's actually second guessing himself, like there's a little bit of, he actually might lose this match now, whereas that didn't really it had to be like some, basically like you got to kill him to keep him down before, where it's like now it's kind of like he might be in his head. And
don't get me wrong, I like that you might have to kill him to get him downfield though.
I mean, it's cool, but like he's done that for like the last 3-4 years. Like it's okay to kind of like not do the same thing over and over and over again, especially now that he's made it to the top. Like there isn't anywhere else to really go with that gimmick.
I saw the dominate the shit out of people for a minute, mini Brock.
But then it's like, it's like that's the problem that we run into with Brock too. It's like, well, who's next? Like, what else are you going to do? Like, you got to kind of make it interesting in some way. I've been cool with it. I thought that his match at Saturday Night Main Event was one of my favorite ones. That triple, I really enjoyed that match in particular. So I've been enjoying it. I do wonder how his demise is going to come, because you can see certain cracks starting to form, and I like that. I like that slow build of the storytelling. So I've been cool with it.
It has made me think, like, it seems like they're setting up something with him, but I don't know who it is that they're building that towards. Braun Breaker is killing.
Man.
Like, I know he has the IC title, but like it seems like they're turning him face now, and that run is gonna be something special.
That's my guy, bro. Dude is finna be wreck. I can't wait for the day for him and Jacob for 2 to have a match.
Again, I'm gonna say WWE. Please add into his theme song a line just asking where my dog's at, or something like my dogs make some noise. Add something in there so that when the theme music hits and then you hear that line, the crowd just automatically starts to bark. Give them a prompt, WWE. Give the people a prompt. People love a good prompt, okay?
He got the sirens, like that kind of denotes that he's coming out.
Nah, I need to hear. I need the dogs to be.
Put the dogs there. Mm-hmm.
The dogs in it. We need the dogs.
I feel like their prompts are a little too on the nose now. Like Chelsea Green started. It's Chelsea Green. It's like, let that be like her intro. Like, it don't have to be like the start of her song. Like, or like Ricochet was just like a sound of a ricochet. It's like that's a little too on the nose. Like Burn It Down don't have nothing to do with Seth Rollins' name.
But it added like his theme was.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, it just shouldn't be like so. Like, if it's just like
it's Ricochet, so we're gonna have
Reigns, and then like his music starts. It's like that's kind of. Or if they started like Jay Uso music was just like yeet, like
it's like, not for everyone, Eric. Okay, I'm just saying for Braun. I need it for Mr. Breaker. Okay, I just need it for him.
Well, I think that's why they're doing the thing where he interviews right before and does the "Where My Dog's At," so then like people start doing that without him having to prompt them.
Well, listen, just a little flair to that theme. Tear the house down.
I don't like the theme, period. Like his NXT theme was way better than what he has now.
Yeah, I don't care for his current main roster theme too much. But let's do some quick hits and get out of here. We on time, gentlemen. We're almost here. It's almost time for the NBA Cup Championship game. So some quick hits. We mentioned the Dennis Schroeder trade. He's with the Warriors. Travis Hunter of Colorado, Heisman winner. Shout out to that young man. First two-way player, first defensive player to win it since Charles Woodson did it. Another two-way guy. So shout out to him.
I think Ashton got it, but hey, I'm not taking away from what Travis did, but Ashton was putting up generational numbers, bro.
I hear you. There's been a lot of good running backs to put up some really good numbers and not win the Heisman.
Yep.
I think that playing at a high level on both sides of the ball,
it does benefit.
Like that's a different level to be able to do that really well.
He won an award for best receiver and best corner, right?
I know he won the best corner for sure. I don't remember if he won best
receiver. Biletnikoff too. But either way, the fact that he was, a nominee for both kind of speaks to like how good he was on both sides of the ball. So like, I don't hate it. And like we talked about it last week with the number of college running backs that have gone well over 2,000 yards and didn't win a Heisman. So it's like there's a precedent for this happening. Mm-hmm. And like I think you can easily say that Travis Hunter is the best player in college football. Like numbers aside, like just if you go with who's the most talented football player in college football, like I don't think you really have a argument against Travis Hunter for that. So
he's going number one next year, damn near for sure. If it ain't Sanders, probably. Or Quinn Ewers. If Ewers leave from Texas.
Oh yeah, he considered going back to school. There's no way he's going number one.
Not again. Manning ain't going for another year, bro. He ain't
if he goes back to school, he's transferring.
Oh, he gonna have to because Manning ain't going. Shit. Archie there, he like, I'll wait 1 year too. You got me fucked up. You got me.
I mean, like he basically took his job this year, so I think that's
because he got hurt. When he got hurt, he slid right in that motherfucking.
Well, I'm saying like even when yours was healthy at the end of the year, like I know that there were a lot of people calling for him, like especially when he fucked up in was it the SEC championship game or whatever. Mm-hmm. I just have one thing about Travis Hunter. Congratulations to him, but like the internet is being really gross with him and his girlfriend and their relationship, and it's like you can have these thoughts and opinions, but like when you bring it to the subject of those thoughts and opinions, or you're doing think pieces, or you're doing like, I saw Shannon Sharp commenting on it, and Godfrey, like if you don't know that man, like you aren't really in a position to give him advice about his personal life. Like if you want to give him advice on football, like because you know football, cool, but I think it's out of bounds, like to be like, oh, you need to leave that girl because she ain't 40. Like, y'all don't know what their relationship is like, so don't comment on it. Like he's saying, like basically, like she, like people are harassing her, sending her threats, or just like calling her a bad person because they see like little snippets online of certain things like that are done outside of context. So it's just like, just don't tweet. Essentially, is always the answer. But I just it rubs me the wrong way. Like even if you feel like that might be the thing, it's like it's his life, it's his mistake to make. If it's a mistake or whatever, like it's not your place to really comment on that.
I think that if there are other celebrities or figures like that who do have an opinion, they want to try to give it to him as advice, hit him up personally. It doesn't have to be content for your show. Like then just if you care that deeply about him and you want to pass on some game, which I respect it. I think, especially I say this often with our age group, as we're the aunties, the uncles, the dads, the moms, so on and so forth. You got to make sure you keep passing on the game and experiences and advice, so on and so forth, to younger generations. You don't want to impose it on them. And you got to make sure you're coming out of a place of love and not a place out of hate or jealousy or whatever that might be. But like, if your intent is pure and you want to pass some game on, I'm always here for that. Just make sure you're doing it in the right vehicle. Like, it does not need to be additional content for you to make money off of if you truly care.
Which they don't. So that's why.
I think we'll end. Well, let's go here first. 76ers. They got some more bad injury news. Jared McCain tore his meniscus. He had surgery. He's out indefinitely. Joel Embiid had a sinus fracture. He is out indefinitely. I did see that he is going to be reevaluated, I think the end of this week or early next week, to see how he's progressing. But McCain probably won't be back for quite some time, which is unfortunate because he was really starting to come on as a really fun player to watch. One of Philly's more reliable players, which didn't expect that coming into this season necessarily, but just some bad injury luck continuing in Philly. Last but not least, got to end the show here sending well wishes to Randy Moss, who was diagnosed with cancer. He said that he had surgery. He is receiving treatment, but just prayers up to Randy Moss as he goes through this journey, this battle. Cancer is a bald-headed scallywag that I wish could be thrown off the face of this planet forever. So just thoughts and prayers with Randy. his family, his friends who are also going through the experience with him, cheering for you in your recovery from this terrible, terrible disease. We'll leave it there for the show this week. Finish almost 7:30 on the dot, just a little bit after, but normally they got the little pregame stuff, so we should be on time still. We hope that y'all enjoyed the show this week. Shout out to everybody who came through, watched the show live with us in the comments. We had a good steady amount of people in here. Shout out to the first-time listeners, the first-time viewers, as well as the Tech File fam who was here week in and week out. We appreciate y'all. As a reminder, follow us on all of our various social medias at Technical File, TECKNICL, FOUL on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Technical File Podcast on Facebook and YouTube. And if you're interested in following me personally, you can catch me.
Wait a minute.
On Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Camille Monet, CAMILLEMONAE.
Quick shout out, Michael Vick, named the head coach at Norfolk State. But I am at Bucks Burner on Twitter.
That's all you get.
All that you get.
Oh yeah, K Harris, the gentleman, is not here this week, but if you want to follow him, it is K Harris 216 on Twitter. And no, he's everyday_gentleman on Instagram.
And Snapchat, right?
And Snapchat. He also has a Blue Sky. Have one name.
I was gonna say, brother,
this forever.
Either be K Harris 216 everywhere, or be everyday
gentleman.
Figure it out, brother. Figure it out.
Like, damn, bro. And it's your boy TIMKINZ, the number 3, aka Ash Ketchum, aka Mr. Give It To Me. I can't yell. I'm in the crib like that, you know. I ain't trying to.
Well, treat the studio like your crib.
Right.
Bullshit.
Yelling in there.
Oh, I will say this too as we get ready to exit here. With the holidays coming up, we have to get into some discussions of what our recording schedule will be over the next 2 weeks, given the fact that our normal sessions would be recording on Christmas Eve and then New Year's Eve. So we will have to figure that out. Who knows? We might take a little holiday break. We'll figure it out, and we will let y'all know when y'all can expect some more Tech File content. But we appreciate y'all for tuning in. It's all love. Thank you so much.
Bye.
My friend does that. Bye.
It's